Folks, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage back. I have been gone for a few days. I traveled over the weekend to a family event. There was a wedding, and I'm going to try and get back into the swing of things. I had to get started back into the work week, and I just took a little break to kind of, get some time off. I need it sometimes too, and thanks to Hotel Soap, he has provided us with some more replays here, and I've got a whole bunch more coming. Soul has sent me some awesome replays and even has a group you all can join if you want to participate in some of these battles, especially the sub-commander battles, so keep an eye out for that in the description. But anyway, let's take a look and see how Hotel Soap is doing today. We've got the Tarentine Cavalry squaring off against Iberian Cavalry. Iberian Cavalry are actually a pretty nice counter for the Lusitani to Jav Cav. Now, the Lusitani do have access to pretty decent Jav Cav themselves, but the Iberian Cavalry are quite fast. They can keep a pace of these Javelin Cavalry. They have Javelins of their own, and so they can toss them, though they're just not like a constant toss type of unit, and they're relatively cost-effective. We do have Epirus going against the Lusitani. Lusitani are like a glass cannon. I guess a good comparison for them in the Warhammer world would be something like the Wood Elves. They are quite good from range. Their units tend to do a ton of damage in melee, but they lack armor and defense to get into a prolonged fight. They also don't really have heavy cavalry options. Epirus, on the other hand, is kind of your somewhat stereotypical Greek faction. Decent from range, very mediocre infantry, pretty solid shock cavalry, and then pretty mediocre or even subpar melee cavalry. But decent spear support because they do have access to, I believe, Thurio spears, but in this case we're seeing mercenary Etruscan hoplites, which is an interesting one to see on the flanks. We do have some Samnite warriors and mercenary Italian swords behind some slingers, and then there is some Thessalian cavalry, which is an excellent heavy shock cavalry. It's actually more of a medium unit. And then we have a Hellenic royal cavalry supporting as well, and then more mercenary Etruscans in the back. So decent bit of heavy infantry backing up some light infantry, which is these Illyrian levies, and some decent range power here. Now, the Lusitani are also very good from range. They've got Balearic slingers, 4 of them in fact, so that is a brutally effective range contingent. One of them has been taking some focus fire from those Greek slingers though, and is already kind of feeling the heat. Looks like we got a front line of veteran shield warriors, and then we've got some Lusitani nobles in the back. I see 2 of those units. There are some Iberian swordsmen on the far flank over there, and some guerrillas hidden in this little thing here. I don't know, they're all hiding behind one tree, like they're all piled into some clown car or something. It's perfect. There was 4 Iberian cavalry to start the battle, so the cavalry contingent for the Iberians is completely and entirely overmatched. From a melee standpoint, the Lusitani could cut through pretty much everything that is here for the Epirotes. However, they're not going to last very long with a lot of cavalry charges around. That was a nice stop there with the Iberian cavalry too. Looks like the Iberian cavalry here wants to stop this hoplite, but it got braced. They are going to trash that Iberian cavalry. Look at that. They didn't move very much. They're going to shut that Iberian cavalry down. Yeah, when a hoplite gets braced, it's one of the few things that it's good at. It really can brace itself well for a cavalry charge when it stands still. And you can see that front line for Epirus just collapsing under the weight of those veteran shield warriors. However, if the heavy infantry comes and backs that up, they might be able to start grinding down the veteran shield warriors. See, even against those cheap swords, how much damage they took. Veteran shield warriors are definitely a glass cannon. They hit hard and then kind of fall off after that. But fun units, regardless. They do have a lot of... Whoa, that's some nice focus fire coming in here on the Hellenic Royal Cavalry. Boy, those Balearic slingers just ripped that cavalry to smithereens. Wow. Absolutely shut it down. Here comes the Thessalian cavalry, though. The general had to retreat, but they'll come and step into his place, and those Iberian swordsmen are getting absolutely clobbered. Lusitani noble has engaged a Samnite warrior out here on the flank. It should do well. It looks like it took some damage prior to getting into combat, though. I'm not sure exactly what hit it. And let's just kind of see how this continues here. So the Lusitani started off initially by absolutely collapsing most of the infantry line. However, that's starting to kind of slow down here. Those Lusitani nobles already have 140 kills, by the way. Those Iberian swordsmen doing decently out here against the Etruscan hoplites. The guerrilla is still just sitting out there, has not been activated, may have been forgotten about by this point. There are still Balearic slingers alive, which is pretty amazing considering the cavalry advantage that the Epirotes had, and in fact, the Thessalian cavalry has arrived on scene, and there's more on the way, so it's going to help charge into these veteran shield warriors and Iberian swords. The main infantry line for the Lusitani is kind of starting to fall apart. It did its damage, did it early, and a whole lot of it, but only the Lusitani nobles really have any survivability, and even their survivability is considerably less than something like an Oathsworn. They do have pretty decent melee defense, but their armor is very lacking for an elite unit, about half of probably what you'd see on another similar elite unit, but their attack is stellar at 64, so they do get a lot of hits when they get into a fight. See over here, that armor lack is going to make a big difference here. Even those cheap slingers going to be giving that Lusitani noble a lot more fire than they would like to receive. Almost would have liked to seen that guerrilla maybe come out and chase off those slingers, but it looks like they're going to try and get into melee here as well. The Samnite warriors are heavily armored, and they're a pretty defensive unit, and up against the Lusitani noble, they're certainly not going to win, and they have very low melee attack, but the lower defense of the Lusitani nobles means that they are going to get hit more by the Samnites. And so the Samnites will cause some damage back to the Lusitani nobles, despite the fact that they would never win that head-to-head. But with these cavalry psyker charges coming in and some extra support, very well could turn against those nobles very quickly. And you can see the general here got hit by a Thessalian cavalry and just absolutely collapsed. Again, that lack of armor really comes out to show when you get hit by a cavalry charge like that. All that impact damage, and there may not be a ton of AP sometimes on all these charges, but when you don't have that AP and there's not much armor, it connects. That's why you typically see so much damage done to unarmored units by charges, and you certainly see it there. However, the Lusitani are still in pretty good shape according to the power bar, and they are wrapping up these Thessalian cavalry. And this Lusitani noble over here, despite being outnumbered, still manages to pick up well over 100 kills, and do some pretty tremendous damage to the Samnite warrior there. It's down well below half. There's some Lusitani guerrillas that are fresh moving in there too. There's going to be a real question of whether the Lusitani can survive the cavalry charges at this point. The Lusitani guerrillas going to be decent against cavalry, but they are also just a very low melee attack unit. So they're not going to land a ton of hits unless they get like a decent charge bonus or something, and they don't really have much of one. It's possible that the Epirotes could charge their way out of this one, but the Hellenic Royal Cavalry is thrashed. The general is probably dead. I believe he is from the message I saw there. And that could play a role here too. This one might very well swing for the Lusitani, but I don't know. The Thessalian cavalry is still delivering some punishing charge, and if the Lusitani lose their general here, that could flip against them pretty easily too, because these units aren't going to be disciplined. See, that attacked in the rear penalty really hit hard on that general. It's got it almost waved. Yep, general just died. That may actually feed this one back to Epirus. Cinematic mode. Here you go, cinematic mode. They wanted me to show it to you all. Yeah, I mean, Epirus is going to pull this one out. They're going to pull a victory from the jaws of defeat there. Some nice charges by that cavalry to keep that alive. Look at the kills. 457 kills on a Thessalian cavalry. Holy mackerel. That is an impressive performance. That was a close battle. This one really could have swung either way there because the generals were dying, and all it was going to take was a little bit here or there to basically finish it off. Those guerrillas were throwing some javelins last second. They're being charged in the back by those Etruscan hoplites. Not going to be quite enough to save the Lusitani here. They're going to be surrounded and killed. If the guerrillas would have come out a little bit earlier to help against that cavalry, that could have made a difference, like especially if they would have got back there and defended those Balearic slingers, because those Balearic slingers, I mean, just shredded that Hellenic Royal Cavalry, tore them a new face hole. So it was a brutal shredding. But yeah, maybe if those guerrillas would have been on station a little bit quicker to defend those Balearic slingers, I really don't think Epirus would have pulled their way out of this. It was still a close fight regardless, and a really fun one. Some good plays by both players, and one that kept us kind of guessing there to the end. Let's take a look at the stats here. I mean, that is just bananas. 476 kills in the Thessalian Cavalry. They have a tremendous charge bonus, and if you can keep these units moving, the Lusitani, to be fair, are the perfect type of unit for Thessalian Cavalry to charge. A lightly armored unit that is not typically going to be braced very well. However, that said, the Lusitani also have a lot of javelins, and so the Thessalian cavalry are going to be in plenty of danger, and that is an impressive performance to say the least. However, look at some of these Lusitani units here. 314 kills for the noble. These guys can really throw down, and then even look at these cheaper units here. Now, these may not have been real expensive units they were killing, but they were still killing the crap out of them. 183, 237. Look at the unit that did poorly here at only 97 kills. I mean, even the Iberian swordsmen were racking up the kills. So, an impressive performance in terms of Lusitani's ability to get some kills. But some pretty nice work here. Look at this Etruscan Hoplite picking up 265 as well. And 145 on the Italian swords, not that bad. The Molossian dogs here, we didn't get a chance to see them, but they obviously got a little bit of work done too if they picked up that many. So fun battle here. Appreciate Hotel Soap and Rednog. Fun battle. Hope you all enjoyed it. I will be back with more soon. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.